I had just gotten home from my father's funeral when my mother-in-law said, "Time to stop grieving. You still have dishes to do." I was still in black, eyes swollen from crying. My husband shrugged and said, "She's right. You've been distant." I cleaned that night in silence. 1 month later, on her birthday, I mailed her a photo album filled with every moment she was cruel to me. And a note, "Now you'll know what real loss looks like." I had just walked in the door for my dad's funeral. My heels still had grass stuck in them from the cemetery. My dress felt stiff, like it was holding on to every sad moment from that awful day. I was exhausted in a way I didn't even know a body could be. Like my bones were sad. Like even blinking took effort. And then I saw her, Patrice. My mother-in-law. She was sitting on my couch, eating something from a little Tupperware container, like she owned the place. She looked up at me, didn't even pause between bites. Then she said it. "Time to stop grieving. You still have dishes to do." That was it.
No hello.
No, how was the funeral? No, are you okay? Nothing. I stood there, holding my purse in one hand, the folder from the funeral home in the other, and I just stared at her. I didn't even cry. I couldn't. It was like her words pulled the last bit of feeling right out of me. I turned to Kyle, my husband, because surely he would tell her to back off, that it wasn't the time, that I had just buried my father. But all he did was shrug. "She's right," he said. "You've been distant."
I didn't say anything.
I don't think I even breathed. I just walked into the kitchen and started doing the damn dishes. My hands moved on their own.
Wash. Rinse. Dry.
Over and over. They kept talking in the living room, like I wasn't there. That night, I lay on the couch while they slept upstairs. I stared at the ceiling and thought about how I used to love this house. How I used to feel safe in it. But not anymore. Over the next few weeks, Patrice stayed with us to help. She cleaned some, but mostly she just followed me around the house pointing out everything I wasn't doing like a wife should. "You're not folding Kyle's laundry the right way. This dinner's bland. Your mother never taught you how to season. You don't smile enough." It's no wonder Kyle's stressed. And Kyle? He just went along with it. Started repeating her little jabs like he came up with them. I couldn't even cry in peace without someone asking me if I was playing victim again. Every day, I died a little more inside. But one night, after another silent dinner with the two of them whispering in front of me like I didn't exist, I made a decision. I went up to the attic, dug out every notebook, journal, and photo I had. I made a plan. Every moment Patrice had ever been cruel to me, I started writing it down. I printed screenshots of nasty texts. I gathered notes she'd left, photos she ruined, birthday cards where she wrote Kyle's name, but never mine. I even included receipts for things she'd thrown out or accidentally broken. It took me a month. I stayed up late while they slept. I used the spare time I had to document everything. And then, on her birthday, I mailed her a package. It was a photo album, wrapped in gold paper, tied with a red ribbon. Inside were pages and pages of every horrible moment she'd caused me. On the last page, I taped a simple note, "Now you'll know what real loss looks like." When the package arrived at her house, she wasn't expecting anything fancy. Kyle and I didn't speak much those days. I could hear the surprise in her voice when she called him from the kitchen. "Kyle, someone sent me something." I watched from the hallway. I didn't move. I didn't speak. She opened the wrapping with those long fake nails of hers, making a show of it like it was some jewelry box or a spa certificate. I could see the way her face changed when she realized it was a photo album. Her smile dropped. She flipped the first page. A printout of a text she'd sent me after our engagement party. "You'll never be good enough for my son, but at least you're quiet." Second page. A photo of me crying in the bathroom during our wedding because she told me I looked pregnant in white. Underneath, I'd written the date and what she said, word for word. Third page. A photo of a burned casserole dish. She had accidentally tossed it down the stairs during a fight and then blamed me. I'd kept the receipt from Bed Bath & Beyond. Page after page. Moment after moment. By the 10th page, Her hands were shaking. Her face turned red. She slammed it shut and looked at me like I had just hit her. "Kyle," she screamed, like she was the one who'd been attacked. "Do you see what she did?" Kyle picked up the album and started flipping through it. His expression was hard to read. At first, he just looked confused, then annoyed, then something else. Embarrassed, maybe. Ashamed. "This is all fake," Patrice snapped. "She made this up to turn you against me." I didn't speak. I didn't have to. Kyle didn't say anything either. He just kept flipping through it. Then he asked real quiet, "Did you really say all this stuff to her?" Patrice went pale. Then loud. "I raised you. You believe this over me? This little witch? You're going to let her destroy this family with a scrapbook?" But Kyle wasn't looking at her anymore. He was looking at me, and I saw something shift behind his eyes. Like maybe he was finally seeing what I had been living through. Later that night, Patrice tried to corner me in the kitchen. Tried to tell me I was evil, that I was tearing her son away from her. I didn't answer. I just looked her in the eyes and said, "You told me grief was a luxury. Let's see how you handle it." That was the last full sentence I said to her. But things didn't end there. 2 days later, Kyle's older sister, Megan, showed up. She'd gotten a copy of the album too. I had mailed it to her on purpose. And that's when everything started to unravel. Megan showed up wearing sunglasses and fury. She didn't knock. Just came in like she used to when we first got married. She looked straight past me and went to Kyle, who was sitting at the dining table with his hands wrapped around a coffee mug he hadn't taken a sip from in over an hour. "You knew she was like this," Megan said to him. "You had to know." Kyle looked tired, like he hadn't slept. He didn't answer her right away. I stood in the hallway listening. Patrice was upstairs sulking. Ever since she read the album, she hadn't said much to me. Not directly. But the house felt heavy, like something was waiting to explode. "I didn't want to believe it," Kyle finally said. "I thought it was just tension. Personality stuff." Megan laughed, but it wasn't funny.
No, it's abuse.
"That's what it is." I stepped into the room then. Megan looked at me, and for the first time since I married into that family, I felt seen. She walked over and hugged me. No words. Just arms around me, tight, like someone finally understood. And then Megan said something that knocked the wind out of me. "You think she was only cruel to you?" she said. "You should see the things she did to our dad before he left." Kyle looked up. "What are you talking about?" he asked. Megan stared at him like he was a child. "You think he left us because he didn't care? He ran because she made life a prison." Kyle didn't know. He had buried the memory of their dad leaving. All he remembered was Patrice crying in the kitchen, saying he abandoned them. I felt sick. Megan went on. She used to tell him he was useless, that we'd be better off without him. She tore into him every day, made us watch. One night, he packed a bag and left. I was 12. Kyle's hands started to shake. He whispered, "Why didn't you ever tell me?" "Because she told me you were too soft to hear it," Megan said. "That you'd never believe me." And then, just like that, the past 20 years of that family's life shifted in front of our eyes. Kyle got up and went upstairs. 10 minutes later, Patrice came down with a suitcase in one hand and rage in her eyes. "I'm leaving," she said. "You win." But it didn't feel like a win. Not yet. Patrice stood at the bottom of the stairs with her cheap rolling suitcase, and her lips pressed so tight they turned white. I waited. I wasn't going to say anything. Not this time. "You ruined my family," she said. I finally looked at her and said, "No, you did. I just made sure you remembered it." Kyle didn't come back down. Megan sat on the couch, arms folded, watching Patrice like she was watching a slow car crash. There was no drama left.
No screaming.
Just the weight of years crashing in.
Patrice left.
She slammed the door hard enough to shake the windows. For a while, everything was quiet, but the silence didn't feel peaceful. It felt like standing in the wreckage after a storm. That week, Kyle barely spoke. He looked like he was trying to sort through his whole childhood in his head. He started staying late at work, Then one night, he didn't come home at all. No call. No message. I found out 2 days later that he had gone to stay with his mother. Megan told me. She had seen his car parked outside Patrice's new condo. He was bringing her groceries. She said he looked defeated. That should have been the part where I begged him to come back. Or confronted him. But I didn't. I packed my things the next day. I didn't leave a note. I went to stay with a cousin 2 towns over. I started working at a small bookstore. Quiet place.
Simple job.
But it gave me peace. 3 months later, divorce papers showed up in the mail. He didn't even sign his name properly. Just a scribble. Like it was something he wanted over with fast.
Fine.
But I had one more move. One last piece of my grief to give back to them.
I had made copies of that album.
All of it. I mailed one to every person in their family.
Aunts.
Cousins. Patrice's church group. Her bridge club. I attached a short message. You always said I was too quiet. I'm done being quiet. I heard from Megan a week later. She said Patrice lost every friend she had. Even the pastor told her not to come back for a while. Kyle stayed with her through it. He was all she had left now. And me? I wasn't perfect either. I had let her walk on me for years. I stayed silent for too long. I let Kyle use his mother's moods as an excuse to treat me like I was invisible. But I wasn't invisible anymore. A year later, I sent one last message. A postcard. No return address. Just 6 words. Loss taught me how to fight. And that was the end of it. She took everything from me. My peace. My marriage. My home. So, I took away the things she cared about most. Her mask. Now, everyone sees her for who she really is. And I don't have to explain myself to anyone ever again.